What else you got? What else you got for slapping?
I wonder if the Moroccan youth soccer, like we have, each town has their own website. So
Yes.
in Morocco, the site say no slapping the kids. We need coaches, but you can't slap the kids.
Slap the kids.
Wow.
Yeah, but since we posted that, we're having a tough time getting coaches, right? Oh, that's funny.
Is that a good way to motivate? Is that a good way to motivate?
No, soccer is. You were a goalie. When you have the ball at your feet,
Yep.
it's one of the greatest feelings on earth. It's a beautiful game. You don't need to be motivated.
No.
So, baseball.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yes, you might. If an outfielder has been out in the hot sun for 4 hours, you may want to slap him.
I actually
Get him
the
motivated.
attention getter.
But do it with a glove on because it's a feminine game. But anyways,
I used to have that theory when I used to interview athletes. You know, the best athletes were the hockey players. Football players were actually pretty good, particularly after games. And I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that it's a physical game and they get beat on a little bit. Mm-hmm. And baseball players after games were just torture. And I used to always think that one of the problems is that baseball players didn't get hit enough. And I just think if you were able to body check baseball players throughout the game, I think they'd be a lot more humble when they get back to the locker room.
I agree.
All right, moving on. I had this though. My I can't say. Let's say this. There was a football coach in my town, and I remember somebody saying that one thing you learned, the first thing you learned as a JV football player, was keep your helmet on at halftime.
Really?
Because he was demonstrative. And I'm sure he wasn't
used to do that. He used to hit people in the head with a whistle.
with a whistle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
something that wouldn't hurt, but it would.
No, it hurt.
Oh, it hurt.
Yeah.
Why?
No helmet on. He went up to Zolik, whacked him right in the ear one time.
Really?
Because he threw the screen pass too soon.
Yep.
And Zolik said, I never did that again. He said my head was ringing for like the rest of the day.
Now, making sure the stories you told weren't because you were being a proponent of smacking children, right? For soccer
No,
games.
I'm not a
You were
proponent.
just-
I don't think you should.
There is a lesson here, right? You weren't just.
I'm seeing all green check marks on the notes. These sports.
I'm saying this. I'm saying that you should never hit children unless they're Moroccan or. That's terrible. We're gonna get.
That's bad.
All right, I'm gonna move on.
Thank God.
Italy. You have anything else on? No,
I don't.
On no.
Nothing.
All right.
Out of those 3 sheets of paper of jokes, we can't hear one. This is very disappointing.
Nothing because he can't be an 8-year-old.
Tune in for podcast after hours to hear Paul's jokes.
All right, Jim. Here's one's yours, Jim. Italy and Portugal will play in the same division for the World Cup. 2 great things about Italy and Portugal are the quality of soccer and fantastic food. And my question for you, Jim, is why can't the Portuguese come up with good organized crime organization?
To compare with Italy. Oh, I see. So make it even. Level the playing field.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying they're so alike. They're in the Mediterranean. They've got those beautiful Mediterranean skies. They've got that great food.
It's. I think personally, it's a horrible, horrible thing that's been done.
What's been done?
That they've been put in the same bracket
because they won't advance. You said they're not.
One of them is not. One of them will not advance out of that, and to me, it's. I don't know. It would be like this year. Let's take this year's football.
Yep.
It would be like having the Patriots play Tampa Bay in the quarterfinals, and have no chance of them playing in the championship.
Okay,
example,
but that's been orchestrated by the World Cup organization, right?
I think. It was a draw. It was a draw. It was a draw.
They hit little balls out of it.
Oh, so it's just random chance.
It was
but people think it's fixed. So now you kind of say, well, if it's fixed, they wouldn't have done that.
They definitely would not have done that. I mean,
so this proves it's not fixed.
Well, people screw up. Maybe they told the guy to pull the little one with the pasta sauce out early. Maybe that was the
one
Italy
that smelled like bread.
Yeah.
Which is the one that
Italian one is the one that smells like. It's got a little red sauce on it. That's how you mark the ball.
All right. Why is the Portuguese the one that smells like bread?
Ask him. He said it.
He doesn't know
been to a Portuguese bakery before?
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, good.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh.
Better bread than the Italians.
Ooh.
They didn't even have a ball. It was a ball of bread.
It was dough. It was a dough ball.
Yeah. No, but so like I said, this podcast number 4, if you're paying attention, that it's Ronaldo's last World Cup.
I was not.
Yeah.
So you want them in it.
Yeah.
Italy just won Euros.
Yep.
A lot of people feel like if you win Euros, you should just automatically get into the World Cup.
Okay.
That's how some people feel. Like of all these
Sure.
tournaments we talk about, like the Gold Cup and the Copa,
Yep.
this is the biggest. The Euros is really hard to win because all the good teams are in Europe. They won it, so for them to not one of the two not being in, it's going to be huge. But and this is my prediction. So it's a playoff to get into the World Cup.
Yeah.
So they each have to beat another team first, and then they'll meet. My prediction is one of them's going to lose because they're going to be looking ahead. Like they call it a trap game in the NFL. One of them's going to lose.
That's what will happen. Yeah, hopefully.
Well, wait.
It would work out better for everybody if that happened.
Wait, why would it work out better for everybody?
Because you just don't. You want to see them play together, but Italy knocks out Ronaldo for his last thing, or Portugal knocks out the European champion to go to the World Cup. It stinks. It smells.
We want Italy to advance. We want Portugal to look ahead, lose, and then Italy can win 2 in a row and then get into the World Cup.
Ideally, Paul and I want Italy to advance, but I think it takes away from soccer in general that those two can't meet for the World Cup.
Let me ask you this question. You guys are both Italian. Mm-hmm. Most beautiful women, are they from Italy or are they from Portugal?
Well, let me just, before we get to that, they have to beat, one of them has to beat
We're not going to talk about soccer again.
Speaking of beautiful women, one of them has to beat Ireland.
Yeah. One of them has to beat Turkey.
Okay.
So if you were the Turkish or Irish coach, would you slap your players to motivate them for the game?
I think we know the answer about the Turkish coach.
Which has more beautiful women?
Yeah.
Portugal, I
can tell you this.
Either one.
Ireland's had some. I've been in Ireland.
I thought you were talking about Italy and Portugal.
No,
Italy and Portugal.
But you said that Ireland was in
I was talking about soccer.
Back
to
this
do a
again.
study on the beauty of the women in Portugal versus Italy, and I'll get back to you.
All right, get back to me. For let's say by next year, by the time they play each other.
I would say Portugal women are a little more furry than Italian women.
Yep.
But I think Portuguese women are prettier than Italian.
Really?
I do. I don't know.
Well, you know something. You know when I knew you were going to think that you were going to say that the Portuguese women were more beautiful than the Italian women was when you said they were furry. I'm like, oh, that's what he likes. That's what he likes. All right, moving on. The MLS
Can
playoffs.
we slap the podcast host? Is that in the rules?
The MLS playoffs ended in disappointment for the Revolution. That's our hometown team, the New England Revolution. It was a very interesting game. Maybe more frustrating for you guys than for me because you watched most of it, and I came in fairly late and saw the end of it. But they tied 2-2 against New York, lost in PKs 5-4. And I thought what was interesting about it, one of the interesting things about it was, I guess from what I had heard, I thought New York was a pretty good team and was kind of getting its act together and would give them a tough game. But there was also a 21-day layoff for the Revolution from the time the season ended to the playoffs began. And they were taking a beating in local talk radio for the league taking 21 days off, for the Revs to come out flat after setting a record for points, for wins and points during the season. And it was interesting because you don't hear much Revolution talk on sports talk radio in this town. And now they are being criticized. I guess the question is there any way that this is a good way to end an historic season for the Revolution? Sometimes
bad press is good press.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm thinking. People for years have complained about the Red Sox.
And, people would turn that on, and you look at it, and you see him come out flat for the 3. And by the way, there was scoring. That's a benefit for local people to watch.
4 goals. Yeah.
4 goals, and if you think about it, if you're a non-soccer person watching that game, you probably thought that was the best thing you've seen for soccer. That you never thought you would see it like that. Back and forth, extra time goal, guy kicked out, red carded.
Oh, there's a lot of different. There's a 1-1 game. They go into extra time. New York scores, and then New York loses a guy to a red card. So now they're playing a man down. And then there's a guy for New York who, and again, every soccer injury, it looks like the guy's been, it looks like the assassination on the grassy knoll.
It hurts. I've played. It hurts. But keep going.
All right. Anyway, there was a guy with a groin injury playing defense, and he was limping around, and maybe he was faking, and maybe he was telling the truth, but he sure did seem. And so they basically had a 2-man advantage. The Revs had a 2-man advantage for about 9 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they did score once. Yeah. But I remember watching it and thinking, if they don't score here, they're going to lose, because it was just a feeling I had that you guys had told me how.
If they didn't score, but they're down 2-1, they have to.
Well, no. I'm saying once they scored and they tied it up.
Scored again before.
I thought if they don't take advantage of this man, because they still had several minutes of a man advantage, and I thought if they don't score, then the PK is not going to go their way. And I know you guys were confident in Turner. Mm-hmm. Obviously, 5-4. Neither one of them was all that exceptional. Neither one of the goalies, but when the New York goalie stopped one more than Turner got. It's I don't know. I mean, it's really interesting to say, yeah, the loss was good for them.
I think it was good sports radio talk.
It does.
People want to talk about it. People who know soccer wanted to talk about it and say, why did this happen? Why did Arena do this, this, and this? What was the reasoning behind it?
And if you're listening from anywhere else in the country, or you don't listen to Sports Talk Radio, they do not talk about soccer on Sports Talk Radio. There are 4 sports in Boston, and there's college. And then maybe there's the Revolution. And when they do talk about it, it's always that kind of a, rah-rah, let's go. Soccer's a great game. It's a great thing for the kids, blah, blah, blah. And that, non-critical sports talk. When there is sports talk, it's very non-critical and of the Revolution. So to have them get ripped, it's like the Red Sox. Is it hating the Red Sox or loving the Red Sox? It's like chicken and the egg. Which came first? Certainly, since from the time I was a kid, it's been a mix of people who love and hate the Red Sox, sometimes at the same time. And this is the first time I've really heard the Revolution get ripped.
Well, you can't rip them for the schedule. That's the league.
The league got ripped for the schedule as it being kind of a rinky-dink thing to do if they want to be thought of as a major league organization. And then the team got ripped for coming out and playing poorly, and then for Bruce Arena afterwards talking about how, by any measure, this was a great season, and it's like Bill Belichick would never say that.
It was still a good season. I mean, you won a trophy and you were in Champions League.
It was a good season. Listen, more games to quote Lou Gorman, more games in first place. More games in first place. More games in first place.
But like I said, they were not playing well before the break.
Yeah.
They were playing really well in the middle of the year.
Yeah.
So the layoff to me didn't change anything. They came out and played like they were playing.
Well, toward the end of the year, didn't they take every other week off for CONCACAF?
Yes, they did.
Okay, so maybe that had something to do with them not playing well down the stretch. I mean, maybe it was injuries. I know we talked about the fact that they'd have time to get people healthy again.
My biggest gripe was that at halftime, certain people sucked.
Yep.
Okay, and I went to like 5 games. I always drove home from games saying to myself, he must be a prick to play for, because every time it's halftime and some guy made a couple mistakes, he's gone. They take him out of the lineup, and all of a sudden they're playing awesome because everyone else knows I'm going to get yanked too. I got to stop playing better.
Yeah.
I don't understand why at halftime Tommy McNamara was terrible in that game. I think my son said he had 5 touches in the first half. So when he came out for the second half, I thought, why are you coaching differently? And the next game yesterday, NYC beat Philly.
The team they lost to.
They were praising him
is now in the
for taking 3 people out of the lineup at halftime because they were sucking.
And who's famous for doing that locally? What coach?
Belichick.
You make one mistake with Belichick, fumble the ball, you never see the guy the rest of the game.
For weeks sometimes.
Or weeks. And that's exactly what Arena had done all year.
And he may have had reasons. We don't know. Maybe people were sick behind the scenes with the flu. But I'm just saying, I felt like that was a key, is that he just went with the same lineup, and they kind of was struggling again in the second half.
I know we could talk about this the whole time, just about how he changed the shape of the team, how they came out flat, but...
Let's go to this one. What about ties? There were at least 2 high-profile, the Revolution game and the Seattle Sounders game in the first round. The Sounders, a really good team out of the West, a number 2 seed, totally outplayed Real Salt Lake, and they lose in penalty kicks. The Revs did not play New York, but they would have escaped with a win if they not lost in penalty kicks. So you had basically 2 games, at least 2 games in the MLS playoffs that were decided by PKs and shootouts. And there were also, as you mentioned when we started, or before we started, a couple of college games in the NCAA tournament decided by PKs. Is this a good way to decide the superior team?
I don't love it, but there aren't many other options. I mean, people have suggested for years take a couple players off so that there's more. Which at least
the
I'd like to
3-on-3
see
thing
them try it. I feel like if you